Tonight we continue our series of interviews with candidates running in the primary on Thursday, September 8th. We'd like to welcome a candidate for Register of Deeds in Suffolk County, Katie Forde. Thank you very much for being with us, Katie.
Thank you.
This is a job that we don't hear about very much, so why do you want to do it?
So the opportunity to kind of transform the way the registry works is why I want to do it. That's part of what informed my decision. Also having clients in bankruptcy and clients in divorce through the law practice that I work at has also encouraged me to run. It's just it's an organization that needs to be more consumer friendly and work more for the people instead of be this government entity that people are scared to visit and participate in, when it affects every homeowner, potential homeowner and landowner in Suffolk County. So it is an important office, even though it is at the very bottom of the ballot on Thursday, September 8th.
Well, this is an office that keeps the records of all kinds of property transactions. You work as a paralegal, so what kind of transactions did you have trouble getting your results from?
Sure. So it's mainly title searches and things like that. So when I worked in bankruptcy law, for example, I represented debtors. I assisted debtors for attorneys. And what would happen is they were going through foreclosure and they didn't know who owned their mortgage. So I would have to go to the registry website and try and figure it out. The other thing that really informed my decision was a client named Elsa that we had, and she ended up having to go through a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. It was a grandmother. She had 4 part-time jobs. She saved her whole life to buy a house. She finally did. And most of the time, whenever you have a closing attorney, they actually work for your mortgage company and not for you. So Elsa, because of the language barrier, didn't understand that she was signing up for an adjustable rate mortgage, and she fell behind on her payments. So if the registry had what I'm trying to implement, which is a lawyer for a day program, where lawyers come in and volunteer their time like they do in all the court systems, they could really help people like Elsa understand what they're about to sign at their closing and things like that. So it's not really exciting stuff, but it is an electable position.
Well, one of the problems with the financing of properties is that there's an original financing source, and they sell the loan to somebody else, and sometimes then you've got some investors who come into control of it. That's supposed to be tracked, but sometimes it's a little hard to stay on the trail.
It is, and that's why I want to do something also that Worcester County does, which is they have a optional notification system. So if you go in and if you do your closing at the Suffolk County Register of Deeds, you sign up with us and you tell us, like, I want to be notified whenever something happens to my title, because I'm not always going to catch it in the mail, and maybe it won't even get mailed to me in some cases. So I think a notification would help people with things like that whenever people take over their mortgage, instead of just waiting to get, information in the mail, or whenever you go to refinance or sell about who actually owns the title to your home. An example I use is solar panels. Where I live in Rosendale, people are getting door knocked for solar panels, which is great. I totally support solar. But if you don't actually own the solar panels on your house, which a lot of people can't afford $50,000 to buy a solar panel on their house, the company actually puts what's called a UCC, a Uniform Corporate Lien on your house. And people don't know about that until they go to refinance or sell. And I think that's a problem. And that's something that could be avoided if we have this notification system that Worcester County already has.
Well, we have been without a sitting Register of Deeds for several months now. I have not seen any indications of distress or drastic changes. The last regular register, he was a former city councilor, and lots of county officers are filled by former city councilors, and people might be saying, well, does it really make any difference? We have a former city councilor running this year too, so why not one more?
We do. So, I mean, what I would say to that is it's a real job for a real professional, which is why right now the Assistant Register of Deeds is running the organization, and that's Tom Ryan, and he does a great job. The thing with the Register of Deeds office that a lot of people don't know is that the Secretary of State's office is actually in charge. So there's 30 employees there. As register, I'm not in charge of hiring, I'm not in charge of firing. That's something, they are state union employees, and they will stay there in place, and they do a great job, which is why the register is kind of one of those jobs where you make of it what you will, which is why I want to make it more consumer friendly and more of an advocacy position. As far as former city councilors running, I think that's kind of the problem. I think that we need someone who is interested in the job as a launching pad for fresh ideas and new perspective, instead of a landing pad for people who are finished elsewhere. I mean, it was just 7 months ago that the city councilor who's in this race, or I'm sorry, almost 10 months ago, that he was de-elected by the people of Boston. And so now he's trying to become the Register of Deeds. I think it needs to be a job that's operated by someone who's a legal professional and knows what they're doing and how to make the right kind of improvements.
Well, one other thing I've noticed about Registry of Deeds is that in my attempts to search titles and other things, I usually do it by computer. I've had some trouble getting the knack of it, and people less practiced than me, I think it might be even worse for them. Anything you want to do about that?
Sure, so that's also part of my Lawyer for a Day program. It's kind of like a help desk. I know people my age, I'm a millennial. We don't always like talking to people on the phone or going into places to communicate with people, so I would come up with an online chat system that would also connect you with the Lawyer for the Day. And they can help you find those documents because they're there all the time and they know how to operate the system. Updating the website is something that I would like to do, but it's something that you have to do within agreement with all the other counties that are under the control of the Secretary of State's office for the registries. Another thing I really want to do that I think would be helpful is because the probate court's in the same building. They're just a few floors up. There's only a few ways to transfer property: divorce, death, and sale. So if you're waiting all day in the probate court and you finally get your document, right now you can only record until 4:15 at the Suffolk County Register of Deeds, but they're open until 4:45. You should be able to record until 4:45 in the afternoon because the probate court closes at 4:30, and you shouldn't have to waste your day and come back another day to get those documents filed. You should be able to have one-stop shopping.
We should mention, if people would like some more information about your campaign, any place they can check that out?
Sure. I have a website, www.katieforde.com, and that's Forde, F-O-R-D-E.